There. So thank you, everyone, for that kind of little bit of administrative technical issues at the very beginning of the day. But welcome. It's early for many of us, but actually late for some of us. We actually have 414 attendees, I believe it is, from literally all around the world. We're missing Antarctica, but have every other continent represented. So you want to take a moment and just put in the chat box where you're from. That's kind of neat to see live where people are from. And so, yes, this is BeeCon 2022. It's hosted by the Center for Bee Ecology, Evolution, Conservation, which I'll talk about in a second. And since you're here, I'm sure you're aware that we are virtual today. We actually have a hybrid event tomorrow. So Shivani, don't share your screen. I'm going to take away your co-host powers if necessary. Just a second. And so, yeah, so we are hybrid tomorrow. So it's be kind of neat after several years of COVID to be able to be back in person, being able to have both the virtual component and the in-person component. I want to do a big shout out to all of our funders, the Faculty of Science here at York University, the Faculty of Environmental and Urban Change, and the Vice President of Research and Innovation, again, here at York University. So I want to start off the day with a land acknowledgement. We recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tikaranto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis. It's now home to many Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and recognize that this territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peacefully share and care for the Great Lakes region. And if you saw in the program book, I actually included a link to the York University website that talks about the land acknowledgement and some of the information behind it. And it's a really neat video I encourage you to watch. It talks about what, for example, the Wampum Belt Covenant is and why it's important to recognize these different nations that were here before and are currently here, as well as how to reflect on what these land acknowledgements mean. So it's more than just a statement of words that we can all read at the start of a conference, and kind of apply it to your own research, apply it to your own lives. And for those of you who aren't actually in Toronto or Southern Ontario, I encourage you to check native-land.ca. This is a website that's now global that actually allows you to see what Indigenous nations were there historically and are currently in your area, or perhaps the area you're doing research in or your specimens are from. So again, native-land.ca is a great website to check into. So about BC. So BC, as I mentioned, is a Center for Bee Ecology, Evolution, and Conservation at York University, which is located in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We are known as a formalized, organized research unit or collaboration of researchers from across campus and other campuses who are interested in bees. Our website, as I'm sure you found, is yorku.ca/bees. If you have any questions about the program or about the research unit, contact myself by email. Again, lots of emails from me, but it's bc@yorku.ca. So BEC is an initiative that strives to advance research in the fields of bee ecology, evolution, and conservation, hence our name. The mission of BC is to foster interdisciplinary, innovative, collaborative, and cutting-edge research. This research is used for the advancement of knowledge and implementation of policy changes to help sustain pollinators globally. Our goal is to apply collaborative efforts to the development of policies, environmental management for the long-term sustainability of bees and the vital ecosystem services they provide. So what does actually BC do? It's great to have a mission and objectives. What are some of the more tangible things that we do that particularly that you can get involved in? So first off is our Bee Best webinar series. This is the Bee Biogeography and Systematics talk. This occurs monthly on the last Wednesday of the month, and it's free of charge, open to the general public. You just need to register in advance for that presentation. We also have an internal webinar series for our associates, and we have that usually the second or third Friday of the month. So Wednesdays are the webinar series from the Be Best, and the associates are on Fridays. We have a YouTube channel where many of these previous talks can be found. As well, social media is where we are also being active, particularly Twitter and Instagram. So about BC again. So I mentioned we have our website, social media, but also we have listservs. So if you want to join and learn more about us, join what we call the BC Global Listserv. The information is in your program of how to do it. Basically, send an email to this listserv address with a command that has your first name and last name, and that should be good to go. We also have an internal listserv for those associated with BC directly. If you're a York University researcher collaborator, we encourage you to get involved with BC. You can visit this website as mentioned below, and also in the program book for more information on the benefits of becoming an associate or to apply. And again, we have a huge diversity of people. We have master students, postdocs, faculty, we have associate faculty. So huge diversity of people, a small sampling, which is on the bottom of your screen. And many of them are here today and many are presenting. So BeeCon itself started in 2011 as a Southern Ontario Bee Research Symposium, hosted by York University bee researchers with support from other organizations, from groups like Wildlife Preservation Canada to Pollinator Partnership, and even things like the bookstore at York University have all given us either financial or in-kind support. It's grown from a small local symposium to an international one. BC is now the formal host, supported administratively and financially by the Vice President of Research and Innovation, or the VPRI, faculties of Science and Environmental and Urban Change. And these have allowed us to get virtual. So with COVID happening, we kind of had to do that pivot, but now we are able to do virtual and in-person presentations. And this year we have 415 attendees from 6 continents, as I said, which is our biggest one yet. So thank you all for attending. And yeah, I think the chat box is suspended right now, but we can turn that on in a moment. So logistics for the day. So many have been in webinars. Again, people have been doing webinars for the last 2.5, 3 years. With a webinar versus a meeting, only the panelists can turn the camera and microphones on. So those of you who are not panelists can only listen in and participate in the chat and Q&A box. The Q&A box you'll see in the bottom, it's got 2 conversation bubbles. And this is where you put questions to the speakers. The chat box we can enable momentarily, but it's just for general comments and not for questions to speakers. And try to reduce your use, particularly during the presentations. We don't want to distract people from the presentations. If you have trouble during the day, you can shoot me a message in the chat or email myself at bc@yorku.ca email address. All presentations will be recorded today, but not all will be shared. It depends on the permissions given by each individual speaker. You can see that in that official program, the PDF. If you scroll to the bottom where all the abstracts are, you'll see a note saying recording, and say yes, no, or private. For those that we do get permission to post, well, we're going to aim to get them up in about the next 2 weeks, give or take, but bear with us because there will be a lot of presentations to upload. We encourage you to follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get notification of any videos that are posted, both from BeeCon as well as our webinar series. We encourage all of you to participate in the conference on social media, but please follow the individual speakers' requests in terms of posting or no posting of content. Some speakers are having information that's not yet been published and like to keep that sort of confidential, or at least just for the participants, momentary kind of observation or knowledge, to please not share it publicly unless they indicate otherwise. Some speakers may use images to help clarify if you can or cannot share. Some may just say verbally, please do not share. So again, please just respect their wishes. If you'd like to tag the individual speakers or follow up on that with them later, their Twitter and Instagram handles are in that program book for those who had shared those with us in advance. And hashtag BeeCon is the official hashtag for the event. So feel free to go ahead, whether you're on Twitter or Instagram, and share any thoughts or interesting findings from the day. And now on to the presentations. So I'll stop my screen there and turn it over to our first moderator, Nora, and she can introduce our first